It has begun. All right. All right. So in order for the people to hear, so I'm recording now. So make sure you guys are on your best behavior.
I want to be.
Okay.
I want to be.
Brett, pass it back. All right. This is the title of your notes. On the left side, write that out. Most of today is going to be vocab and thinking. That's what today is going to be primarily. We have to understand, one, what these words mean, because we're going to use these in conversation on a regular basis. Ashley? The open side. Because your notes were glued onto the right. The green notes were glued onto the right. You write this on the left. It's going to have some vocab there. Hey, Tori. I want to make sure that I'm in the picture, that everything's good to go. It's good to go. I see you.
Do good.
All right. We got the title down. We got some vocab. Yes, vocab. That's how notes often start. We have to know what we're talking about before we can talk about it, right? If I ask you to go to the store and pick up a hookah, could you do it? Pick up a hookah at the store, please. Piper, go to the store, get some hookah. Exactly. You can't do it because you have no idea what it is. So in order to do anything, we have to know what we're talking about. So prime numbers, anybody know? A whole number with exactly, what was it? 2 factors. I love that you use the word factor. That's awesome. Factors is one of our vocab words we're using today. Exactly 2 factors. That's a prime number. Now this is a review, but we want to make sure that we get this down. Prime number is a whole number with exactly 2 factors. Now, what are those factors? Say it again. Loud enough so the camera can hear.
One in itself.
Exactly. One and itself. Okay. One and itself. Now, note, there are 2 numbers that are neither prime nor composite. What are they?
1 and 0.
1 and 0. Because how many factors does 1 have? 1. Only one number can go into 1, right? Evenly. How many numbers can go into 0 evenly? Actually, it's infinite. What's 0 divided by 8?
0.
Is there an answer? No. Yeah, there is. 0 has an infinite number of factors, okay? It also, another way to think about it is that it also doesn't have any factors. Wait a second, how can it have infinite number of factors and none? Well, it's a paradox.
It's paradox.
This is a song from Pirates of Penzance. Good morning. All right, so therefore, composite numbers, not necessarily the opposite of prime, just they're not prime. And if they're not prime, that means that they are what? What do we got here, Ashley? A whole number greater than?
A whole number greater than 2.
2, yeah, because 2 is prime. Right? Why is it showing up? Come on. Let's end this slideshow and start again. It's frozen. Weird, that's not the slide I was on. There we go. All right, here we go. It's better now. Greater than 2. So let's write down those numbers and let's cross out the composite. I want you talking with your neighbor. Write down those numbers and cross out the ones that are composite. I want you talking with your neighbor about it. So as you write them down, feel free to cross them out as you go. Cross out those composite numbers. The ones that fit the definition. Whole numbers greater than 2 that have more than 2 factors. You can. Let's cross off those composite numbers. We have a definition, we just have to apply it. You also should be talking with your neighbor about which ones are composite now. So let's start that conversation by saying, hey, I think this one's composite.
Oh, wait, I don't need two times. It's not very hard to. Because two and one, that's why
All right, so the biggest question right now is, of course, the first one. Is that prime or composite? But it's even. A lot of people are like, but it's even. It's got to be composite.
I know, but the thing is, it can divide it by itself and one.
Exactly. There are no. Did you guys hear what Kobe said? He said it only has two factors: itself and one. It can't be composite because there only has two factors. So you should have got these crossed off. 51. A lot of times people are like 51. Anybody figure out which ones those are? What two factors go into 51 other than 51 itself? 3 times 17. We are going to talk about divisibility rules later today, and we'll be able to see easily how to figure out that 3 goes into 51. We'll learn the fast way. So yes, 3 times 17. And so the ones that are remaining, they are what kind of numbers? They are prime. Okay, good. So here's a big list of prime numbers. You don't have to copy this down. I just want you to look. There are these things called twin primes, which are prime numbers that are adjacent to one another. What do you notice about all of these prime numbers?
They're all odd. A lot of them are odd.
They're all odd, in fact, except for number 2, right? All prime numbers other than 2 have to be odd. Because what does every even number have as a factor? Every even number has what number as a factor? 2. 2, exactly. So no even numbers except for 2 are prime. These are called twin primes because you'll notice, let's take a look here. It goes prime, composite, prime, just in that order. Boom, boom. It's 2 consecutive odd numbers that are both prime. A lot of prime numbers come in pairs. You guys see that? 3 and 5, or then 5 and 7, 11 and 13. You'll see most prime numbers do have a pair. 53 does not. 97 does not. And these don't. As they get larger, as numbers get larger, as the prime numbers get bigger, there's more space between them, right? As you can see, there's a lot that are really close together when they're smaller. As you get bigger, they get further apart. Which odd number never is going to be prime? 9. So let me rephrase. Which ones digit is never going to be prime? 7 is. This is a ones digit. Okay. 8 is an even number. 5. This, notice the 5 column? With the exception of 5, they're all composite. Why? Yeah, any number that ends in 5 is divisible by 5. Okay? So those are prime and composite. So let's talk now about factors and multiples. So prime and composite are like vocab words that are paired together. Factor and multiple also are paired together. Students often confuse these. So I want us to highlight some important things. So when we're looking at this stuff, factors go into. So I want you to circle that. See if my pen will work today. Maybe not. I can use my finger. Factors go into. So if I'm looking at 6, if 6 is my number that I'm using as my example, factors are the ones that are smaller. Factors are the numbers that go into 6. 1, 2, 3, and 6. Multiples, okay, in the other direction. 6 goes into its multiples. So 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. So here are our definitions. You don't have to write these down because you already have them in your notes, but I need you to read along with me. All right? A factor is a whole number that divides into another whole number with a remainder of 0. It goes into that number evenly. 1, 3, and 6 are factors of 6 because they all divide evenly into 6. Yeah? The flip side of that are multiples, okay? Multiples are the product of a given number and any non-zero whole number, so and any whole number, pretty much. Multiples are the numbers that the given number goes into. So if our given number is 6, right, then the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, because 6 goes into each of those numbers. Notice that 6 is in both lists. Do you see that? 6 is a factor of 6, and 6 is a multiple of 6. Why is it a factor?
Because it goes into.
Yeah, because 6 divides evenly into 6. How many times? Once. 6 is also a multiple of 6. 6 times 1 is equal to 6. See how that works? So factors are the things that go into 6. Multiples are the things that 6 goes into. It kind of goes in that order. Okay? So here's your example for the multiple. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12. So I want us to list some factors, okay? So you're going to talk with your partner. First off, I want you just focusing on the factors, all right? So we're looking at 8. 8 is our number. I want you to list the factors of 8. Talk about them. There are 4 of them. Talk about them with your neighbor. Ready, set, go. Factors first. Factors first. All right, Jason. All right, bring it back in. Jason, what are our factors for 8? Let's start with the smallest one. What's the smallest whole number that goes into 8? That's not the smallest number that can go into 8. What's the smallest number that goes into any number? Thank you. Then what? Then 6 doesn't go into 8. 3 doesn't. How does 3 go into 8? Come on, this is second grade math. You do this. 1, 2, 4, 8. 1, 2, 4, 8. So you need to use your example that we have up there for 6 to model what we're doing here. 1, 2, 4, and 8. Those are the numbers, the whole numbers that divide evenly into it. So we just are, guys, seriously, we're just reading the definition and just doing the definition. Right? So let's do multiples for 8. So read the multiples definition and get me the next set. Let's get 5 multiples. Ready, set, go. Talk about it. I bet you in this one.
32. Oh my god, where's my red notebook?
24, 32.
Wait, I know it.
No, it's 32.
In this list, ladies and gentlemen, in this list, let's not include 8.
Oh my god.
What?
8 right there.
8's right here.
40.
I know. All right, Sai, what do we got?
16, 24, 32, and 40.
And then one more.
48.
48. Awesome. Cool. All right, you guys do 12. Do factors and multiples with your partner. Ready, set, go. Factors and multiples. Awesome. You got it. What should you start with? Every single list. Exactly. That's okay. That's one that people always forget. Write your name on it. Right, Matthew. All right, here it is. And boom. There they are. Now, because we weren't including 12 in our list because we already included it, there we are. So our factors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12, because those are the whole numbers that go into 12, evenly divide into it. Multiples 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Questions on factors and multiples? Okay, this is the last thing we're going to learn. You do not need to write these down because they're going to be on a worksheet for you. Okay? They're going to be on a worksheet that I'm going to make about you. But we need to think about these. All right, so divisibility rules. So multiples are how we can figure out how to multiply into other numbers. Divisibility is how we can figure out, does a number go into it? Is a number a factor of something else? So earlier we were looking at 51, right? A lot of times people forget that that one is actually composite. Okay, that one, 51 is composite. And a lot of people are like, but how? How did you know that 3 went into it? Well, divisibility rules help out a lot. So how can we determine that a number is divisible by 2? It's even. That one's the easiest one in my opinion, right? Well, it's second easiest. 10 I think is the easiest, right? I can remember the divisibility rule for 10. If it ends in a 0, it's divisible by 10. That's the easiest. So how can we get 51? All right, so if the digits sum is divisible by 3. So if we're looking at 51, right? What is the sum of its digits? Sandra? 6. So that actually tells us that's a divisibility rule for 3. So 51 is divisible by 3 because 5 plus 1 is 6, and 6 is divisible by 3. How about this number? Is 128 divisible by 3?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not to
11. Change one of those digits and make it divisible by 3. Tell your partner. Change one of those 3 digits and make it divisible by 3. Tell them which one. Tell them the number. Brenna. So she made 122. Is 122 divisible by 6 or divisible by 3? It's not because 122 is 1 plus 2 plus 2, which is 5. KJ.
123.
123. Change the 8 to a 3 and it becomes 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6. Cool. 228. Yeah, 228 is 2 plus 2 is 4, and then 8, that would be 12. So we can always look at those digits, okay? And now number 4. If the last 2 digits form a number that's divisible by 4. That one's a tricky one. It's one that I often forget about. But 128, is it divisible by 4?
Yes.
128. The last 2 digits form a number that is divisible by 4. Is 28 divisible by 4? Yes, it is. So that one is divisible by 4. Notice it's not the sum of the last 2 digits. That's the confusing part between 3 and 4. 3 is the sum of the digits. 4 is you just look at the last 2. Why can't you just look at the last 2? You guys know why? Does 4 go into 100? Think quarters. Does 4 go to 100? Yeah. So we already know it goes into 100, so we only have to look at the last 2 digits. Would 4 go into 1,000? Yeah, so we don't need to look at the thousands digit, we don't need to look at the hundreds digit, we only need to look at the tens and ones digits. Question?
How can 4 go to 16?
How does 4 go into 16?
Because its last 2 digits are 1 and 6, and 4 isn't going to either.
So the last 2 digits of 16 is 16.
Oh.
So it's not asking you to find the sum or to look at these individually, it's asking you to look at them together as a number.
Oh, okay.
So 16 is divisible by 4, because it's 4 times 4. So that means like 116 would, or 2,116. All of those are divisible by 4. 5 is pretty easy. If the number ends in a what? 0 or 5 is divisible by 5. 6 actually is dependent on 2 others. If both 2 and 3 go into a number, then 6 would go into that number as well. Cool. So if both 2 and 3, why does that make sense? Because 2 times 3 is 6. So if both 2 and 3 go into it, that means 6 has to. There is a divisibility rule for 7 that I know of. You just have to do long division. 7 stings. There is one for 8 though. This one's it's not quite as useful. You know how 4 is the last 2 digits of a number. 8, you have to look at the last 3 digits. So it's less helpful. But what if the number doesn't have 3 digits? Then you just gotta use long division.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So 8 is less helpful. 9's pretty cool. If the sum of its digits is divisible by 9. It's the same as 3. If the sum of its digits is divisible by 9. And then 10, the last one. Okay? If the number ends in a 0. Now you guys have a practice that you're going to do. You have in-class practice. I asked you to pull it up at the beginning of class. Okay? Let's pull it up at the beginning of class. It looks like this. You and your partner are going to go through, in case you'll work with Kobe. That's fine. Or Kobe can come up to you. This is, if you don't have it in front of you, just share with your partner. Don't waste your time now getting it. Just share with your partner. You can draw on the iPad together. I'll give you about, I don't know, like 6 or 7 minutes to work on this. If you're watching the video, just fast forward 6 or 7 minutes. Exactly, right? But let me give you an example of what we're supposed to do. So the first one, all you're going to do is, the example is 10. And you are going to use the divisibility rules. I'll put them back up on the board. I'll put them back up here so you don't have to have them. And you're going to decide what it's divisible by. Now, I already shared this with you, but it's divisible by 2 because it's even. It's divisible by 5 because why?
Because
It what?
It ends in a 5 or a 0.
It ends in a 5 or a 0. And then it's divisible by 10 because any number is what? Divisible by itself. Exactly. Okay? So that's what this one will look like. So I'm going to give you 6 or 7 minutes to work with your partner using these divisibility rules. You're not using a calculator. You're not doing long division. You're just going to go through the list and pick it out. 8 is not a choice, but there are some of them that are divisible by 8, so feel free to add 8 to your list. Okay? Cool? 6 or 7 minutes. Go. Talk through it with your neighbor. You're just drawing on your iPad. So Brenna, I want you talking through the chat. You don't need to write them down because I'm going to give you a worksheet with divisibility rules. You don't need to write them down. That's my thumb.
Oh, you're going. Okay.
All right, let's start circling.
Okay, 36.
Sharing ideas with each other. Don't do it individually. You guys have it? Neither of you have it? You only need one of them together. You got it. So you guys can write on it? Awesome. So what do you got on here? You might be bigger.
Do you want to circle it? Is that what you use? And then 5, no. 6, 2, 3. 5 times 3.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. 10.
So 2 divided by 4.
Is that all you got? 4?
I guess.
So you take this, you slide all the way over, create PDF. Top right.
Okay, that would be
So that's another way to access something. It's faster than taking a screenshot, and it actually takes the action document and pulls it in the beginning. And I think we saved the iPhone.
You can't do 6
That's coming. Have a good discussion.
Oh my
Why?
Are you sure?
Well, so 102 definitely can't go before, right? Because 102 is way larger than 2. So the way you say things. So if
That's all I got was 3.
now let's look at the last 2 digits. So that's what it says before. 2. Why?
yeah.
3.
Bro, I can't even see the number.
That works. Four goes into 100. So I can't do it for two.
Oh, it's digits. Wait, so would it be all numbers or nine?
Not 5. Would it be 4?
I was going too fast. But I was actually cutting it down.
I think it is divisible.
Is that it?
Okay, 90. I don't want to.
So like,
2.
Yeah. Yeah, wait, that
I'm filming this because I'm filming it.
yeah, but it says 49 add 9.
We are going to check it, but if you want me to check, okay, that's fine.
No.
These are all two different, right? So we get to this one, and it's even, right? So we know this. And, hey guys, make sure you check 3 as well. Or, I'm sorry, check 8 as well. I know 8's not on the list, but we've got divisible roll for 8. Oh, I forgot. They're on the paper. Hey, I forgot. I changed the notes. They are on the bottom of your green paper. The green notes. The divisibility rules. They're right there. I forgot that I had changed the notes up. So good so far. The only one that I can see is your doctor. I want you to double check. Is the one that because
I'm gonna go through 8 once I'm done with that.
it's talking about why.
Oh, wait, no, we have to hit. Are you going to wait? We have to add in the.
All right, guys, about 30 more seconds to finish up whatever you got done, and we'll check whatever you've got.
So add on the.
So keep working through. No rush. I want you to get them right.
Oh, so you're doing 5. You're doing this 5. That makes 100.
I can just add 8 on there if you want. All right, you want to press play? Press play now. All right, everybody, let's take a look. Here we go. Just whatever you have done, I want you checking your answers. Okay. This is on the notes on Canvas, if you want to check them. So the notes are on Canvas. A couple of them that people messed up. The 36. A lot of people are like, they forget that it's divisible by a lot of numbers. And the number one number that people mess up is 3. 3. You look at 57. You look at 57 and people are like, oh, of course that's prime. It looks prime, right? It kind of looks prime, let's be honest. Is there like a look for prime? Yeah, you got, it ends in a 3 or it ends in a 7 or it ends in a 9. But we always have to check 3. How do we get number 3? So on 57, why does 3 go into 57? Give me some hands on this one. Why does 3 go into 57?
Because 5 plus 7 equals 12.
12, and 12 is divisible by 3. Okay? You guys see any mistakes that I made?
36 isn't divisible by 8.
Oh, it's not divisible by 8? Yeah, 32 is. I'll cross that one out. Good call. Good call. Thanks, Ashley. Stephen, you were going to say the same thing?
Huh? No, I was gonna say 50, 357, because 3 times 19.
57, is it 3 times 19? Yeah. And if it's divisible by 3, then you can figure out what its other factor is. Did you guys know that most factors come in pairs? Yeah. There are some factors that don't. 6 times 6 is 36, it has that factor, but most factors come in pairs. Like Stephen said, 57, if it's divisible by 3, that means it's divisible by another number. In this case, it would be 3 times 19. Look at 450. Kind of cool, right? You probably didn't get to 450, that's fine. Right? Questions on the divisibility. I want you using the divisibility rules today for your homework. I'm going to give you the worksheet so that way you guys have plenty of time to get it done. I do want to have you take a look at the back when you get there. It's a pretty fast homework. There's a lot of problems, but it's pretty fast. It's kind of like what you were just doing. I think this is assignment number 25. I'm going to pass out the homework here. Oh. Ashley.
56 and also got 8 and 9.
8 goes into 56, yeah. And 9. I don't know. We'll check with back to that. When you get your homework, put your name, assignment number. I want you to turn to the back, please. Turn to the back. That's the divisibility rule that says some friendly advice. You'll notice, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to stop your conversation. Okay? I want to do the first one together. Okay? So the number is 4095, so 4095. When you read the directions for this, it says circle the letters next to each number to show divisibility for 2, 3, 5, 9, or 10. Write the circled letters on the line at the right. Also write the letters in order into the boxes at the bottom of the page. Hint, 2 of the given numbers are not divisible by 2, 3, 5, 9, or 10. No letters will be circled for those numbers. So on the first one, your options are S, N, E, V, and O. And that's for 2, 3, 5, 9, and 10. Okay? So which letters would we circle? Well, we know instantly it's divisible by 5. So what letter should we circle? E. Should circle E. And now we need to check. We know 2 is not going to go into it. Why? Because it's odd. We know 10 is not going to go into it because it doesn't end in a 0. So now we have to check 3 and 9. So we add up the digits and we see if it's divisible by 3 or by 9. The divisibility rules are on the other side of your paper. So if you need to double check, just flip. The divisibility rule for 3 is add up the digits, and if it's divisible by 3, you're good. 4 plus 9 is 13. Plus 5 is 18. Is 18 divisible by 3?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Is 18 divisible by 9?
Yes.
Yes, it is. So what letters would you write down on the answer blank? You would write down N, E, V, and then do the next problem. Does that make sense? Don't worry about the boxes until the end. Just put the letters in the boxes at the very end once you have all the letters written down. And that riddle will make sure that you get it right. Okay? So the last couple of minutes of class is your time to work with your partner, work with each other. Let's start in the front. I would imagine you can easily get the front done before you leave class. Okay? All right, the rest of this, you have about 4 minutes. It's your time.